वो तो यार वो करने वो तो आ जाए ना प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इसका किसी कंफर्मेशन तो आ जाए, खाली एनुअल सेशन लगा क्या फायदा है उसमें प्रोग्राम
Chairman sir, we are waiting for
करना पड़ेगा ना
Sanjay ji.
कौन
So
आ रहा
as soon as our senior vice president joins, then we will start.
एनुअल सेशन का क्या डालेंगे यार
And I am requesting
आज का
Saurabh ji to
3 दिन में
kindly mute himself. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and we are starting formally in next few seconds. So, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to each one of you. This is a very important session which we are having today under the aegis of our telecom committee chaired by Mr. Sandeep Agarwal. And we are waiting for our senior vice president and president designate, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal. So as soon as I believe he is going to join in few minutes. So as soon as he joins, we will initiate the proceedings of today's webinar. And let me share it with you. This is very important because this is going to be an interactive webinar on challenges and opportunities for smartphone industries post COVID-19. And we are very happy to share with you that we have today Mr. Sanmit Kochar, Vice President HMD Global, and Mr. Sunil June, Vice President and Chief Product Officer, Micromax Informatics Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, the idea is how the mobile industry, especially the mobile, has played a very important role in the new normal. And as we were attending one of the webinars yesterday, somebody was sharing that this kind of virtual meetings are going to be new normal, not only for a couple of days or couple of months, but for a couple of years. That only future will let us know. But we have learned this new thing post March 2020. And as we all are aware that every opportunity and every challenge has got opportunity. So we are basically taking it as a challenge. And I think mobile industry has played a very important role. So Sandeep ji, with this preface, we are waiting for our senior vice president, and my colleague Kurtika is in touch with his office. So as soon as Sanjay ji joins, we will formally start. But since we have few minutes, I would like to use this opportunity and time and throw this open that how the telecom committee has really worked very well in the last couple of years, and you being the chairman of the last few months, that what are the initiatives. So in few seconds, if you can kindly share, and then we will formally start. Over to Sandeep ji.
Thank you so much. Great to see doyens of the mobile phone industry, and I really believe that Nokia had shown that India can really manufacture mobile phones, and now we also know that Indian companies are not far behind. So Micromax has shown that we can also do it. So that is where the strength comes from, because nobody can win without a competition. Single person cannot run a race and win. So there has to be multiple people. Nokia showed that there is a race and you can be part of it. Now my friends from other companies have joined it, and India is going to win the race. Whoever comes first or second in this race will probably not matter, but what will matter is that India will become a big hub, like the Chinese have made their country the hub of mobile phones. And why it should not be? India is the biggest buyers of mobile phones today. So why not? So it is going to happen. Yes, Sanjay ji has already joined in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Sir, for your preface and your introductory remarks. And we are very much confident that people, those who are joining and our esteemed panelists today, they will all be part and parcel of our telecom committee. And we will ensure that we do meaningful programs in future under the telecom committee of PhD-CCI. Our senior vice president, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, he is the president designate also. From 7th October 2020, he would be taking over as the president of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry has joined. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to request Mr. Sanjay Agarwal to kindly give the presidential address. Over to Mr. Sanjay Agarwal.
Thank you, Dr. Srivastava. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this webinar. Good morning to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Sandeep Kochar, Vice President, HMD Global, Mr. Sunil Joon, Chief Product Officer, Micromax, Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, Chairman of the PhD Telecom Committee, Mr. Alok Mukherjee, Co-Chairman Telecom Committee, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, PhD Chamber, and of course, Dr. Yogesh Srivastava, Principal Director. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this interactive seminar that we are organizing today on the challenges and opportunities for the smartphone industry post-COVID-19. On the behalf of PhD Chamber, I would like to welcome all our distinguished guests for gracing this occasion to interact with us. Mr. Sandeep Kochar, Vice President, HMD Global, and Mr. Sunil Joon, Vice President and Chief Product Officer, Micromax Industry Informatics Limited. We welcome you all. Before I express my views further, I would be very happy to share with you a bit about the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. PhD-CCI has been working as a catalyst for the promotion of Indian industry, trade and entrepreneurship for the past 115 years plus. We are a forward-looking, proactive and a dynamic pan-India APEX organization. As a partner in progress with industry and government, PhD Chamber, with a special focus on MSMEs, works at the grassroots level with strong national and international linkages for propelling progress, harmony, and integrated development of the Indian economy. Coming to the subject, the COVID-19 pandemic, perhaps more than any other event in human history ever, has demonstrated the crucial importance that telecommunication infrastructure plays in keeping businesses, governments, and societies connected and running. Because of the economic and social disruption caused by the pandemic, people across the globe rely on technology for information, for social distancing, and from working from home. Let me just recall a small, okay, we can call it an anecdote. I was watching a historical series on the television, Netflix rather, and one problem that the Roman Empire faced in its old time, that's around 2000 years back, one problem that the Roman Empire faced was that they had the best communication system in the world. But that communication system, of course, was a physical communication system in which people were connected via roads. They could have been any telephone lines, of course. And there was this plague in Europe. So what happened was that while for other countries which were not a part of the empire, plague did not have that serious consequences. The Roman Empire, being so well connected, meant that the plague traveled in every possible direction to and fro, and neither Rome nor any of the colonies or the cities were safe. That was the downside of the strength in communications of that strong Roman Empire. Now, with modern technology, we have a similar epidemic of a much larger proportion, but telecom is providing the communication channel in which you do not get infected. You transmit the signals and you do not come into contact with anybody. So basically, that is a sea change which has occurred in the whole human evolution, that today we have the biggest challenge, but against the biggest challenge, the biggest venue for actually realizing the importance of telecommunication and the communication mediums has really been brought forth with the COVID pandemic, where we now know the importance of work at home. We now know the importance of not having to meet physically. Telecommuting is being the norm, and all these things. When we look at, I think the most vital component of all of this revolution in telecom and what we are able to do with it is a very, very major contributor to this is the smartphone. You see, till the advent of smartphones, there used to be, of course, still a great use for telecom, but the actual advantages of the telecommunication revolution have only been translated into reality after the advent of smartphones because of two reasons very clearly. One is the mobility that is provided with a smartphone. Two is the cost. So earlier, even if you had a best telecom network and best telecommunication equipment, it was too expensive. So very few people could afford. So it has democratized or brought the telecom possibilities, options, and everything to the most, I would say, the lowest ranks of the economy. That means you are covering more than 95, 99% of the population of the country or even the world in most cases. This has been possible because A, the smartphone is mobile, so people can carry it in their pockets. You don't have to sit in front of a computer to take advantage of the communication advantages that is being offered. At the same time, a smartphone is much more viable, much more viable for a lower income person to buy. So the economy that has been brought about and the features, because of simply the huge numbers that have been of users that have been created, the size of the market itself has pushed down the cost so tremendously that it has become more and more affordable day by day. So I think the COVID epidemic has only underlined the importance of smartphones, where you see students studying practically on smartphones. You see people working on smartphones, people telecommuting on smartphones. The computer itself is not really needed for more than 90% of what earlier used to be the pure domain of computers. So I guess the numbers, there is a lot more to come in the smartphone field in terms of technological advances that are going to happen on a daily basis, simply because nothing else, amount of numbers that we have, the number of users that we have, so the number of, I think, innovations that one would expect would also go up tremendously in this field. The special reference for smartphone technology that comes to India, maybe now even on this field in many countries or most countries across the world, is the challenge brought about by the aggressive attitude of one of our neighbors, the sort of diffidence that has come up in India and in many countries regarding the usage of high technology products, which could have some hidden trapdoors for gathering information or for leaking information or for snooping into the privacy or into even the sensitive networks of the country. So which has, of course, therefore, resulted in this move towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. And therefore, on this particular aspect, again, I think even now today, we are, despite all this move, there is no option for the country but to import a very large percentage, I think a majority of our mobile phones or smartphones from that particular country, which needs to be addressed and probably has to be addressed as we go forward. Again, the domestic smartphone industry has to look towards meeting this end. I think, and by domestic smartphone industry, or in any industry as PSC chamber, as we would say, we always mean to say domestic means industry that is making goods, making products in India. We are not seriously bothered whether it is Indian owned or foreign owned or partly Indian owned or partly foreign owned, except for certain specific countries for which we have some security concerns. But we need to produce all these high technology products in our country so that the security is also not compromised. In addition, it's not just a security aspect. I think it's also an aspect of developing the progress and the capabilities of the nation, as also it is going to be a major contributor towards the actual economic growth of the country also. If we are importing a major part of our requirement for a major part of our economic need versus whether we are making it indigenously without being dependent on it. There's a lot to be expected from the smartphone industry in India, and we really do look forward to hearing from the titans of this industry who are present here today. So really a pleasure, and I wish all the best for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Vice President, sir. I think you have touched upon very important points, today during your presidential address, that how the smartphone can actually make the people of this country also smart, and at the same time, the connectivity and the security. I think all these points which we would love to discuss it today during our webinar today, and we are hopeful that the Indian smartphone industry is going to flourish in future like anything. So with this note now, let me invite our inspiring chairman of Telecom Committee, Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, and request him to kindly set the theme for today's webinar. Over to Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, Chairman, Telecom Committee, PHDCCI.
Thank you so much, Yogesh ji. It is my pleasure to be talking to the people who represent this dynamic industry, which has really changed the way India thinks about its exports. There were many issues which were there in people's mind, but you guys have changed them all. So I would say Mr. Sanmeet Kochar ji, who is from HMD Global and basically a Nokia company, right, sir? So thank you so much for coming, and we will be really looking forward to listening to your views on this. And Sunil June ji, you are from Micromax Informatics and one of the leading Indian manufacturers of smartphones. And Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, Senior Vice President, PHDCCI, Pradeep Multani ji, Mr. Alok Mukherjee ji, I believe he has joined in, and Mr. Saurabh Sanyal ji, our SG, Yogesh Srivastava ji, Kritika, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to bring this discussion on table today, and I really know that during the last 3 months, the world has changed and it will again change. So when Nokia brought in 2006, Sanmeet ji, Nokia factory was put in?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And nobody thought that India could manufacture even 100,000 phones. And what was the peak number of phones Nokia manufactured in India, sir?
We were at one point manufacturing between 500 to 700,000 phones every day.
And what we were talking about, that people did not think India capable of manufacturing even 100,000 phones in a month. But yes, so you could do it in a day. So when you decide that you can do it, then you can do it. The government today is doing its best, I believe, to encourage the domestic manufacturing. I know and I understand that there were certain problems with the Nokia manufacturing at that point of time. There were certain issues, and probably in this latest initiative by government, those problems would have been corrected. So today we will like to understand from our panelists that what will be the situation post these new this notification which the government had put in, the Gazette notification of 1st of April, which tells us that 40,000 crores in the next 5 years will be given to Indian manufacturing of these goods, how it is going to really affect the manufacturing of products in India. Then we also understand with the US and China war going on, there will be a huge shortage of spare parts or parts, because in one way America may ban the use of Chinese components into their smartphones, or China may actually stop selling certain components, critical components, or certain critical raw materials from those components. So post COVID, there is a huge vacuum in the understanding of the market, in way of understanding what is going to happen. Everybody is making their own guesses. We would love to know from people in the thick of it that what will be the situation, how it is going to change the way manufacturing is done. You know, I remember that when India went into manufacturing of automobiles, then a huge set of ancillaries became almost mandatory, along with a plant for making an automobile. Do we think that similar thing is going to happen in the mobile sector also? Would we have equipments manufacturing not only the smartphone, but also the glass for the smartphone, also for the cases for the smartphone, also the charging equipment for the smartphone, and not only clones or copies of what have already been done, but with research, newer and better products. Could they be manufactured in India? Can we actually go out and manufacture the chip, the heart of the phone? Can we say that since India is making the most number of phones, can a chip manufacturer put up a plant in India? You know, you would know that in 2014, when Modi ji started his Atmanirbhar or Make in India speech, this first speech he gave in that Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, if I remember correctly. And Modi ji said that we need to have 2 chip manufacturing plants in India, and 2 companies were shortlisted also. But unfortunately, none of those 2 companies were able to put up the plants to make chips in India. Probably it was not the time was not right for that. Probably today, with millions of phones which will be manufactured in India, I would say that what is the number? Sunilji, could you guide me? What is the number of mobile phones which are sold in India?
Sir, last year we sold 158 million phones, and this year we should be able to touch around 125 million phones.
That is the Indian industry or the total sales in India?
That is only smartphone sales in India.
Smartphone sales in India.
Right, sir.
So 15 to 16 crore phones we have sold in India.
Right.
Now, then there is an ample possibility of having a chip being made in India, because today getting a chip from anywhere else could be slightly tricky. If not today, then at least in the next 2 or 3 years, there is a huge possibility that this problem snowballs. And in that scenario, each side will pull their products on their side, and probably countries like India will need to either look for their own manufacturing of these products, so that either it being Nokia or it being Micromax or it being Samsung or even companies like Apple, all of them probably could then source their critical components out of India. If I know correctly, even Apple and Samsung and everybody uses multiple chips. It is not necessary that you can in US you can use a Qualcomm chip, and in China you could use somebody else's chip. So it is always a possibility that different chips can be used for the same phone. So I believe that India, with having so much quantities under production, it would be a great idea if one of your companies, one of the companies who have set up manufacturing in India, expand their processes and really going for chip manufacturing. So I will obviously request for the views of the panelists here on this behalf, that what we are going to do. We have seen that there was a growth in Q1, probably but what I've seen is that there is a minus 50% sales
In Q2.
in Q2.
Yes.
That is a huge drop. And I hope and pray and keep my fingers crossed that this is only a temporary phenomenon. The Indian market will be resilient because the rural markets have not taken the hit as the urban markets have. So probably the mid-level phones would probably sell better, and we should hope to get at least 10% growth over the last year in Q3. That's our hope. I would obviously like our panelists to discuss and tell us their views on how it is going to happen. What are the issues which will come or affect their sales in India? What are the possibilities of duty? What is the duty structure right now? How it is going to affect? Because I heard yesterday or day before that for assembly of this TVs, now there is a 5% duty. So probably the government is looking for a stage-wise increase in duties on components, so that companies will be pressurized to start manufacturing their components also in India. So I will obviously like to know the views of our panelists here. So I hope that like when we are manufacturing only smartphones, then the technology will move into other products also, because 5G is going to bring in too many options. Today the smartphone is for the humans, but tomorrow smartphones could be installed inside the Android. So it is very much possible that that smartphone will be the brain of the Android, and with the artificial intelligence, it is going to do a lot of jobs which us humans will not like to do in future. Probably how it is going to affect the Indian workforce is another point which we will like to understand, that growth of smartphones. Whenever something new happens, whenever something better happens, we always think it is going to take away jobs. But we always find that it brings in more jobs, it brings in more value, it brings in better life to the common man. That is what our industry will need to convey it to the people, that it is going to be good for everybody. And with the kind of data prices which India has got today, well, the operators are losing. They are into deep trouble. Yes, Idea came out with a slogan, what an idea, Sarji, and that everybody should be taught on the mobile phones. And today we are seeing everybody is being taught on the mobile phones. So there is a time for everything. It has come. The smartphone industry is going to bring the change. The data industry, the telecom operators are going to ensure that they keep on get their juices, their data, and I hope the markets survive to take in these juices from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks. And as you have rightly said, that a smartphone is a part and parcel of our life today. And if I can give you a personal example for a young boy, who's my son in the family of 15-year-old, to my father and mother plus 80, all are using a smartphone. Somebody is using for the education, somebody is using for the prayers, somebody is using for the films. So I think a smartphone is a part and parcel of our life today. And we are very happy today that we have two stalwarts of the industry of a smartphone have joined with us today. And before I request Mr. Sanmeet Kochar, the Vice President of HMD Global, to speak, my colleague Kritika is with me, who is the Secretariat Head for the Telecom Committee. May I request Kritika to you to kindly give a brief profile of Mr. Sanmeet Kochar, and then we will request him to speak. Over to Kritika.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sanmeet Singh Kochar is the Vice President for HMD Global, the home for Nokia phones. In his role, he is responsible for driving strategy, operations, and business for HMD Global and for re-establishing Nokia as a strong consumer brand in India and MENA by scripting the next chapter of Nokia phones. An industry veteran, Mr. Sanmeet has spent over 12 years working with Nokia, Microsoft, and HMD Global, and has held various senior leadership positions in business, sales, marketing, and operations. In his former roles, he has spearheaded business as General Manager, Microsoft Mobile Devices in Egypt, Head of Sales Operations, Microsoft Mobile Devices in Asia Pacific, and Head of Channel Development, India, Middle East, and Africa, Nokia. He is a mechanical engineer with an MBA in Marketing and Finance from the Management Development Institute in Gurgaon. A truly global professional with an overall experience exceeding 20 years, Mr. Sanmeet has worked in different countries across Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. Prior to Nokia, he held various strategic and operational roles with Colgate, Palmolive, and Dabur India Limited. Mr. Sanmeet has pioneered innovative business frameworks like developing the Nokia Partner, Channel and Distribution Framework, and building the Visibility Index for Nokia, which is an innovative way to digitally measure retail visibility in the independent retail channel across the world. An avid traveler, he enjoys spending time with his wife Ramneek and his daughter Jasrita. In his free time, he catches up on his reading, latest movies, and listening to music and watching sports. We welcome you, sir.
We welcome you, Mr. Sanmeet, and all yours, sir. The platform is for you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kritika, for such a nice introduction. And I am really honored to have been invited and to be speaking in this forum. And I want to really, first of all, greet and thank Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, Mr. Sanyal ji, Mr. Yogesh Srivastava, Mr. Sanjeev, Ms. Kritika, and Mr. Sunil June. So thank you so much for being there and for giving me this opportunity and to address in this forum. So is it okay if I just share my screen for a small slides? I don't
please, know. Sir. Please go ahead.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. So the way I have structured this is that I'll try to talk a little bit about HMD Global, who we are, what we do, and then I'll come to the topic of challenges and opportunities for smartphone industry post COVID-19, and I've tried to look at different buckets, which is the consumers, the trade, the channels, then how does it impact the businesses. How does it, impact some of the aspects which Sandeep ji you raised, including mobile manufacturing. So there are different aspects which I'll try to cover, and then we can get into a discussion. So what I'll do is I'll just first talk about HMD Global and who we are. So I'm so proud to say that today we are the only global European brand. We are based out of Finland, and what we bring to the table is the best of the ecosystem. We have very strong partnerships with Google, with Nokia, with whom we have a license for bringing their smartphones and tablets into the industry. We have a strong partnership with Google. We try to bring in the Android operating system as Google has designed it for its consumers. We also have a very strong tie-up with other industry ecosystem players such as Qualcomm, Zeiss, and Foxconn. We are a global startup. We started in 2016, and as of now, we are operating in 91 active markets, including 5 manufacturing sites. And India is one of our major manufacturing sites globally. Manufacturing in India is spread across both now north and south, and is done through our partners in India. Just if we look at the India business, we have a presence around the length and breadth of India with over 110,000 plus retail stores, over 700 plus distribution partners, 300 plus mobile care centers with round the clock chat and phone support. We have our own e-commerce store in India, and then we have a strong partnership with different operators and e-commerce players. And I'm so proud to say that, you know, all our phones that we sell in India are all manufactured in India, you know, except for 1 or 2 high-end devices which we import, but rest all of our devices are manufactured in India. And we also cater to the needs of all the elite enterprise customers across different verticals. So today we have a full range of smartphones and feature phones in India, and these are truly differentiated not only from a hardware but also from a software point of view. So I'm again so proud to say that each of our devices that we have in our regular between 1 series to 9 series, they come with a promise of 2 years of operating system upgrade and 3 years of monthly security update. And especially in this era in which you know, everything is going digital, this becomes very, very important. In India, we are the second most trusted brand, and Nokia has always been associated with trust and reliability in different industry surveys, including the one by Brand Equity. For the last 2 years, we have been ranked as the #2 most trusted mobile and tablet brand in the country. As I said, security is one of the key aspects of our proposition, and therefore this proposition is very, very relevant for our enterprise customers. And if you look at, you know, the Android enterprise recommended devices which Google recommends, we have you know, the maximum, which is 17 devices in that segment, and therefore the devices are absolutely ready for adoption by different enterprises given the proposition that we have. As I said, security is a very, very important aspect of our business. So we have a center security you know, center for excellence in Tampere, Finland, for research and development. We also recently acquired the assets of Valona Labs, a mobile enterprise and cyber security and software company. And as I said, we are you know, committed to provide it to our fans, and this we do for all our phones. If you buy a phone which is like 7,000 or 8,000 rupees also, even that device would get a security update for, you know, 3 years, monthly security update for 3 years of the lifetime, and 2 years and 2 operating system upgrades. So if you buy the device on Android 9, it will move to Android 10, and it will also then move to Android 11 during its lifetime. So that's how, you know, our promise to our fans is. And recently, we had raised a funding. As I said, we are a startup. We raised a funding of 230 million from our strategic partners, and these partners were Google, Qualcomm, and Nokia Technologies. And this was one of the largest growth financings which was raised in Europe in the year 2020. So that's about HMD Global. Now, if we come to the context in India and in the post-COVID scenario, I have looked at 4 different aspects in which we are going to get impacted, and where there are both challenges as well as opportunities. The first one is economy and market, and then we have consumers, as well as shoppers. Then we have channel, which is both physical retail channel as well as the e-commerce channel. And finally, what are the other opportunities, in which I'll try to cover, the different enterprises and the manufacturing opportunities which are there for India post, COVID-19. So these are the four aspects that I'll touch upon, in the next maybe around 10 minutes or so. So first one around economy. So we have seen now that most of the GDPs have declined in the second quarter, and in most countries that has been the case. However, if we look at the smartphones, and if we look at similar phenomenon which happened earlier, and of course there's nothing which has happened to this, which has had this kind of an impact and at that level which is happening right now. But if we take examples, we can take the earlier 2008 financial crisis and even the 2001 recession, which was after the dot-com bubble burst, or even when the 9/11 happened. We saw that the mobile phone sales jumped or came back quite quickly, and therefore, and this is a point which Shri Sandeep Agarwal ji also made earlier, that we see that the smartphone sales have been quite resilient, and people can let go of other things, but they generally don't let go of their smartphones. And we believe that, in India as well, it is not going to be very different. And we will see that the sales or the industry is going to pick up. The category is very resilient, and the industry is going to pick up as we move forward. We are already seeing that in the second quarter, the less than 15,000 category has grown, and especially the less than 7,500 category. That is something that we have seen growth in, and we'll come to the reasons for that when we come to the consumer piece and how this is driven from a consumer point of view. But from an industry point of view, we see that this is something which is growing. From an overall industry standpoint, we have had different industry studies, and we see that industry may not recover fully, but definitely would grow in 2021 and 2022 as well. So we see that while there's been a decline this year, but definitely would lead to an increase in the next 2 years. And there is a big scope for consumers to move to smartphones in India. And there's another study which estimates that around 820 million people would be there on the smartphone as a smartphone base by the year 2022. So that's around the industry. Our view is that the industry, while it has taken a hit, and it was very rightly pointed out by Mr. Agarwal that we have had a decline as an industry in Q2, but that is attributable to different demand and supply issues, and those were there because of the different situations which existed in different aspects of the business in Q2. But I'm sure we'll come out of that, and we are already seeing signs of revival in the industry. And I'm sure as we move into the festive season, the demand is going to go up significantly. And as I said, the category is resilient, and that's going to play out as we move along. So this was on the industry. Now, if we look at the consumer piece, and we have seen that, first of all, the time being spent in this lockdown is increasing, and this has increased quite significantly as per Nielsen. And then if you look at different social media habits, again, there is a significant increase in social media usage from on their smartphones as people have seen it. And then one is what is happening during lockdown and during COVID. But the second also very important point is what is going to change as we move out of COVID, as and when we move out of COVID. And our view is that a lot of these changes which are happening, could be happening, and they could have a permanent impact on some of the consumers which are there in the market. So for example, even as the lockdown was opening, we saw that shopping behavior of the consumer was changing quite significantly, and people were a little hesitant to go to the stores and to see how they are able to shop. So therefore, while earlier it was ROPO, which was research online, purchase offline, it is now moving to ROPA, which is research online, purchase anywhere, which means that people are willing to look at different options for purchasing, and this then has different repercussions for the trade, which I'll come to later, right? Then secondly, again, as it has already been pointed out, there has been so much of stuff which was earlier happening physically or face to face. Now it is starting to happen digitally, and we see that smartphones could play a very, very important bridge, and it will be the what you call a lever in which would be used for driving a lot of these activities digitally, whether be it shopping, which I already talked about, or work, or studies. There could be a lot of these things which would be moving to a smartphone, and therefore there is a strong need for increasing smartphone penetration in India, and that is something which is definitely going to happen. There is again a lot of demand during these times. Whenever there is some kind of a crisis, we see that people look at quality, quality in their purchases, and trust, and that is something which again people would look at. What are the brands which are offering them trust, reliability, and quality, and that is something where brands would constantly need to be able to deliver value and be able to communicate that and establish that they are the ones which can demand the consumer trust and are able to deliver that as well. The last piece that we are seeing is that in terms of value-added services, and this is again a point related to what I said earlier, that there is a value-added services which is increasing. So, for example, what can we do in terms of extended warranty, insurance, and this is also related to the point that consumers are not so keen to go out to the care center. So, what are the different services or values which the brands can offer or companies can offer to their consumers and to their fans? This is something which is going to determine how much of a preference consumers has for that particular brand or that particular service. So this is what I see from both the consumer as well as the shopper standpoint as we move forward. The next one is on channels, and there is a very clear demarcation in India in terms of online as well as offline channels, and we have of course seen that there is a distinct increase in the way online sales are increasing. But the first thing I might want to mention over here is that everybody as of now needs to focus on what can we do to drive safety, and because the first thing that we need to protect is lives. And in terms of offline retail, what are the things that everybody in the ecosystem can do to make sure that we are that we are driving safety of the shoppers who are coming in, of the retail staff, of the store owners, of everybody who's involved in the overall ecosystem, including the distributor, sales representatives. How can we ensure that we have the right SOPs in place so that safety of everyone is there, and everybody is taking adequate precautions to make sure that we are having the right frameworks to to be able to protect the health and lives of the people who are involved in this industry. Secondly, I think given the consumer and shopper choices that I spoke about earlier, it is going to be very important that different channel owners, different accounts are able to tailor their offering to see how they're able to service the demand from the consumer. So, for example, home delivery is one of the options that has been there in different categories, and I see that is something that can go up during lockdown situations, or even as we move out of lockdown, and when some of these categories are allowed to be sold. So that is something which will play an important role. And while we see a lot of people going into the market and shopping, but there would still be this whole apprehension in people's mind that should I go, should I not go, and therefore this is something which would play an important role. And one of the things that we did, for example, just as we moved out of lockdown and people were so apprehensive, is that when you are doing digital marketing, you can target basis pin codes, and that India was divided into green, orange, and red zones, and we could then target people in the green zones, and if there were some leads which were getting generated, we could pass on to the offline retailers who were, you know, based in those markets, so that they could deliver the preferred Nokia smartphone to the shoppers at their home without them coming, you know, to the store if they don't want to. We've also seen that the direct to consumer, which is, you know, people buying directly from the brand stores, has increased. And also there was a mention, we have seen that tier 2, tier 3 and the rural towns, we have seen a significant growth happening in these sectors. And, you know, that's of course also a result of the fact that, you know, more than 70% of the agriculture GDP in India, you know, is sitting in Q2, and we see some, you know, therefore the growth in rural has been significantly higher as we have moved out of the lockdown. So that's something that I just wanted to talk about in terms of the channels and how it impacts different retailers who are, you know, working in different channels in India. Moving on to the other opportunities. So first of all, there is a big, you know, there is, as we are doing a lot of this stuff digitally, it's important to have more security, you know, in the mobile phones, and that is something which is going to be more and more in demand, especially because now a lot of financial transactions are happening on the mobile. There has been a lot of discussion, especially on this, given the whole geopolitical aspect, you know, as it is playing out in India and globally, and therefore security is going to play a very, very critical role as we move forward. And similarly, a lot of enterprises, and they have, some of them have already announced, and I think that is going to be the way forward, and at least the direction in which we all move forward is that a lot of people would be working remotely, and when you're working remotely, there would be the need for different gadgets which you would be using, and therefore the need for providing the right amount of security in those devices is going to be important. Then this whole opportunity around manufacturing, I think this is not a race between companies. It is a race between ecosystems, in my view. And we already have seen globally, there is a very, very strong ecosystem in China around mobile phone manufacturing, which starts from, you know, design houses, then around component manufacturing and procurement, then around EMS partners. So there are a lot of different activities involved in mobile manufacturing, and I think this is something which China has done really well in terms of building this as an ecosystem. But if you look at overall, you know, in India today, the per capita GDP would be significantly lower than China, maybe around 1/5 of China, and therefore, you know, in terms of productivity, I think we can match what China is delivering, and therefore the cost of operations that we can have in India can be much better as compared to what is there in China. And therefore, you know, it is important that we create this whole ecosystem in our country, which would be a parallel ecosystem, which would not be designed only to cater to the needs in India, but that should be then designed to cater to the global needs. And as I said earlier, you know, when we had the Nokia factory in Chennai way back, you know, when it was set up in 2006 and it went on for a few years, at that time that factory used to cater to the needs of 65 countries globally, you know, for mobile phones. So when we are designing this ecosystem, it, as I said, it is a, you know, it's a race between ecosystems, not between companies. And as of now, the Chinese ecosystem is a very self-fulfilling ecosystem where, you know, all the products, all the components are manufactured, procured, designed over there, and then, you know, catering to the whole world and used by the companies who are based over there to sell to the whole world. We need to create that kind of a parallel ecosystem in India, and scale is of paramount importance in this creation, and therefore we need to look at not only catering to the demand in India, but also to the demands globally. And also important to note here that this is not something which can happen overnight, and I am very, very excited about the schemes which government has launched, which is, you know, production linked incentive, component linked incentive, etc. And I'm sure that can help different companies set up, you know, this whole, you know, different value chains in the ecosystem that I spoke about within India, and see how this can be built over a period of time. And this is a massive opportunity for Indian companies and for India as a country to build this parallel ecosystem. And this is something which is resulting from the overall geopolitical situation arising out of COVID, when a lot of countries and a lot of companies are looking at de-risking their overall supply chain by moving stuff out of China. So I think this is a very, very good opportunity for India. Finally, I just want to say that at HMD Global, we are completely ready for this opportunity. Be it from a consumer standpoint, we have a very, very important and tailored proposition for our consumers, both in terms of hardware as well as software. As I said, on enterprises, we have already doubled our market share in the enterprise space, and this is something because of our proposition, because of our overall security that we deliver on Android smartphones, and the fact that 17 of our smartphones are the part of the AER, which is the Android enterprise recommended smartphones as per Google. So this is something which is very important for us, and this is a category that we will be focusing on. And finally, the whole piece around India opportunity and how we can leverage India, or look at evaluating India as a sourcing hub for our supplies globally. And as of now, there are some components which different companies are manufacturing or sourcing from India. But going forward, how can we have more of these components being sourced in India? How can we try to have more different parts of the value chain, including designing stuff in India or having EMS capabilities built in India? This is something that HMD Global would be evaluating very, very closely for India, as India is a very important market for us, not only from a consumer point of view, but also from a sourcing point of view for our global markets. So that's what I had to share. I don't know if I have exceeded the time which was allotted to me.
No, thank you, Mr. Kochhar. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And as you have rightly said, that India is a very important hub over here, and then how the sourcing should take place, how the ecosystem, since you talked about, and finally that how India can really become Atmanirbhar, as our honorable beloved Prime Minister Modi has basically given a call, that how India can become Atmanirbhar in this area. So with this note, ladies and gentlemen, let me share it with you. We will certainly be having question and answer session, though I am seeing number of people are giving a lot of questions on the chat. But my request is if you can put in the Q&A box so that we can have the question and answer session post the speech of Mr. Sunil June. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy that Mr. Sunil June is with us. He is the Vice President and Chief Product Officer, Micromax Informatics Limited. Before I request Mr. June, my colleague Kritika would like to give a brief profile of Mr. Sunil June. Over to Kritika.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sunil June is the Vice President and Chief Product Officer at Micromax, who works collaboratively with CEO and top management to define strategy, articulate vision, and solve problems. He also leads multiple cross-functional global teams to deliver results and influence change. Mr. June is also responsible for planning the mobile device roadmap, engineering, emerging technologies, product strategy, and portfolio strategy for efficient and cost-effective end-to-end procurement, sourcing and supply chain services, including ODM, OEM, and EMS strategy of Micromax. He also manages strong relationships up and down the value chain and the key relationship with partners in ecosystem, including Qualcomm, Samsung, MediaTek, Unisoc, and Google. Mr. June is proficient in all wireless technologies, including 5G NR release, LTE Advanced and Pro features, Wi-Fi technologies, Android operating system, regulatory, compliance, and end-to-end mobility product development lifecycle. We welcome you, sir.
We welcome you, Mr. June. All yours, and PhD Chamber is very happy to have you on board today. All yours, sir. Over to Mr. Sunil June.
Thanks everybody. And I really appreciate giving me this opportunity and honored to be here. And as Mr. Sandeep ji, Mr. Sanjeev ji, and Mr. Sanmeet very well articulated, the overall situation of the industry. I would also like to start with a small presentation, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and then like to have more interactive session. Yeah. Since I work closely with the ecosystem in China, Taiwan, and rest of the countries and India, maybe I have a different perspective than a lot of other people. So let me start with some numbers and a small presentation and then take it up as an interactive session. I guess everybody is able to see the presentation?
Yes, we can see, sir.
Yes.
So just to touch upon the numbers once again, and I think we all discussed in our previous discussion, India is the second largest market of the smartphone. And last year we reached 158 million shipments, which is a huge number. We surpassed USA and rest of the countries. We are still pretty behind as compared to China, but we are significantly ahead of as compared to the rest of the world. So it's a very big market and very important market for all of us. In terms of manufacturing also, we are the second largest manufacturer of the mobile phones with nearly 260 manufacturing units across different segments, maybe components, manufacturing of mobile phones and rest other things. So I'll just touch upon, how this kind of manufacturing or the second largest manufacturer we achieved in last 4 to 5 years. And the Make in India initiative has been a significant contributor in that, which was primarily, phased manufacturing plan and MSIP. Put together both, encouraged a lot in the local manufacturing, which PMP was primarily based on, the increase in basic custom duty and, encouraging the local production of either the mobile phones, different components, or doing a complete SMT. So there is in this first table, there is the percentage of duty put on the components and, how it can encourage the manufacturing of all of these components. Then recently, there is another initiative that was launched by Government of India, is PLI, which is performance linked incentive, and does encourage a lot on the local manufacturing, as well as does encourage export of the mobile phones from our country. And it does include a lot of investment also, not only the production linked incentive. So it's a very well balanced incentive, and put together it's a very encouraging thing. And there is a special encouragement for domestic companies in this PLI scheme, since if it is not a domestic company, it requires a different slab, and if it is a domestic company, then it is a different slab. Next slide is just giving a view of before COVID. Though the market increased significantly, but most of the contribution goes back to the Chinese OEMs. And in less than 3 years, what we see is, the contribution of Chinese OEMs have increased to 75%, and which may not be a very healthy sign for the industry, but it does give a good competition sense. It does give a lot of encouragement for other OEMs to compete with them as well. So I'll just run through the last, after the COVID happened, from January to September, what happened, or how the market went through ups and downs of, different scenarios. It has been a roller coaster ride so far. So January, after, the Chinese New Year, we started getting a shock of the supply chain, since the China was under a tremendous influence of COVID-19, and everybody thought it is a big supply situation, not a demand situation. So we didn't expect that the markets will react so significantly, and India will also have a lockdown. March, late March, we went through India lockdown, and continued till April. We had a very severe demand shock, and at the same time we have seen a lot of migrants going back to their hometowns, and we went through a lot of unlock and lockdown for the entire mid of April till mid of May. Then in May we had a very tragic incident of Galwan, in which we lost our soldiers, which was a very tragic incident, and it raised a lot of I would say a nationalist or a protectionist sentiments. And our Prime Minister also, in the same momentum, he raised a lot of asked for vocal for local and Atmanirbhar and a lot of other things, which does gave a lot of anti-Chinese sentiments in the market. And most of the brands did see that there was based on Google search, based on Flipkart, Amazon search, we figured out there's a lot of demand for Indian brands and other non-Chinese brands. June, because of lack in manpower and disrupted supply chains, besides we see some demand, there was a reduced production. And July, continued from last 6 months. There was a huge pent-up demand, but still we figured out there is a disruption in the supply chain because of sea routes, because of customs, because of other incidents, which created a lot of pent-up demand. In August, market started adapting to the ups and downs, and there was a lot of calibration or attenuation that happened, and we were able to cope up with the demand, started supplying devices in the market. September, as we see, most of the fear is out, markets are fully open, and we see a huge demand back as good as it was before COVID-19. Going to next slide, based on the incidents, what we see that, Q2 was a big decline in the shipments, almost 51% based on 2019. And I believe Q2 were only 18 million shipments, and put together Q1 plus Q2, the industry supplied only 50 million as compared to maybe, almost 90 million as expected in the forecast. So it was 30% less as compared to the forecast of Q1 plus Q2 put together, and 26% decline year on year as compared to last year. So it was a big shock in Q2 and Q1 put together. But despite all the worst numbers, economies and everything, Q3 there is a huge demand, and besides the bad numbers of GDP, the shock for other industries, the smartphone industry is still running at a very fast pace as of now. Then what we observed because of COVID impact, there is a huge shift on offline and online, and Sanmeet very well articulated this aspect and did put some numbers as well. So online channel increased to 43% in the Indian smartphone market. In Q2, I think Q1 it was 41%, and it is further expected to grow at a very fast pace. And there is a reason, because of COVID-19, consumers have increased their buying online. The customer service of these online channels have generated a stickiness in the consumer's mind, and due to this presence of online channel, have been registered in remote and rural areas as well. So I mean, rural areas have always been towards online heavily, but in remote areas as well, we have seen a big trend shifting towards the online purchase. So offline industry definitely needs a fresh perspective, how they can cope up with the online and how they make margins. So, and it is a challenge for brands as well. Everybody is looking into that, how to, make both the channels healthy and viable. So as articulated by all of you as well. You know, it is a highly resilient industry, and if I have to put some numbers, you know, 2020 Q3 plus Q4, the expected volume is 95 million. Again, you know, whatever numbers we had in Q1 and Q2, we expect a very good comeback. 2020 Q3 plus Q4, you know, growth is still, you know, -6% as compared to the last half of 2019. And 2021, you know, we expect a further heavy forecast, which is around 184 million devices. So from 158 in 2019 to 184, it is a good shift, and it's a good comeback for the market. So obviously, you know, as smartphone has become a necessity, you know, it is as essential as, you know, maybe any other commodity, and internet is as necessity as, you know, maybe water and electricity. And we have seen this during this pandemic. You know, whatever is the economy as on today, it has survived because of connectivity and a big contribution from the smartphone industry. A lot of new use cases coming up as e-learning picking up pretty well and you know, growing at a very fast pace. Work from home has become a, you know, increased usage, and thus it has created a new consumer segment which will contribute to the growth of the industry. You know, what we see, or what is the industry trend, is the affordability, and it is going to be a key factor which will drive the demand of the smartphones. So maybe the luxury phones will have a, you know, dip in the market share, but affordable phones and quality phones will see a big uptake in the market. Diwali is coming up in Q4, which is a breather for the overall industry and in these testing times. So coming back to, you know, besides all the rosy picture, you know, what are the challenges? And biggest challenge, what I see, is the supply chain. You know, maybe as a projection and everything, in short term, we see, you know, India is a very potential market and a very healthy market. But whatever, you know, numbers we have seen in terms of as a second largest manufacturer, India still is, you know, not a good producer in the entire mobile phone ecosystem. It is still a shallow manufacturing. We do need to invest a lot in the ecosystem. As we have seen, you know, the mobile phone is a highly resilient market, but the supply chain is not a resilient supply chain as on today. And there is a, you know, big change. There is a loss of trust in the world's largest manufacturer, which is China. And we do need to find, you know, what are the ways around to avoid any supply situation because of, you know, the loss of trust. Deglobalization is happening everywhere. Time is ticking for the end of, I would say, not globalization, it is hyper-globalization. Localization of supply chain is not an either-or situation, but it is an essential thing. And we also do understand changes will not happen over time, and we are not China, as they did a very fast you know, pickup of the ecosystem, did a lot of investment, and the government was working hand in hand with most of the ecosystem manufacturers over there. So some of the things in the entire scheme of challenges that we cannot control, like, you know, what incidents happened in the past, regional military and political conflicts, and you know, some kind of protectionism, wherein, you know, we see that geopolitical and trade disputes can happen, and maybe another waves of pandemic. It can be a second wave or something similar pandemic can happen. In the last, you know, what opportunities we have, we do have a big opportunity to become a global player, and it can be anybody, Indian player or somebody who's present in India with a deep down investment. So from the big opportunity that we have is that from shallow manufacturing to do a lot of value addition in the manufacturing, and we can indigenize mobile manufacturing to enhance domestic value add. So, you know, we, as I said again and again, you know, there have been a lot of schemes from government. mostly towards manufacturing, but those manufacturing does not have any value add. Those are purely manufacturing aspects as such. What opportunities further we have is building the strategic assets. We should invest more in R&D engineering. We should be the pioneers in global innovation. We should be leading to contribute in the technology. We do lead in some of the aspects. I mean, Qualcomm has one of the biggest R&D in India. Apple does have, and a lot of other, at least the chip guys have, but, those are partly contributed. And, the value add of that contribution is not specific to India. Then again, every time the generation change, it is a big opportunity for the industry, and 5G is at the corner and is a game changer. It's a new phase of economic development. Whatever opportunities we can find, we should invest in that. And then lastly, we can be the mobile export hub. Currently, what we see as numbers, the import numbers of electronic, including the components and the devices, is around 55.6 billion, and the export is only 8.9 billion. So there is a huge gap. We do import a lot of electronic components as on today and do the shallow manufacturing. And this is the right opportunity where we should invest in value add of the supply chain. So besides China, as India is the only country, which can become hub of the global supply chain, because we have a, big domestic consumption, and economies of scale plays a very big role to become a hub of the supply chain. And on top of that, there is a geopolitical advantage for India, as we have seen between, US and China. A lot of trade disputes are going on, and we can take an advantage of that. This is the right time to invest and become a global player. So thanks, and really appreciate the time given to me and put my views of the industry with you guys.
Thank you, Mr. June. Thank you very much. As you rightly said, this is the time basically to invest in India and see that India is going to be on the top of the entire situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I go and request my Secretary General to give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks, we have still few more minutes, and my request is to my colleague Kritika to kindly go through the Q&A chat box, and please take question one by one, and also mention the question is addressed to whom. Over to Kritika.
Thank you, sir. An anonymous attendee has asked, what percent of smartphones and feature phones would be NFC enabled by 2022? Since already 90% of merchant card machines are NFC enabled and 60% of the cards are NFC enabled. Do you see smartphones overtaking cards in NFC adoption?
One of you would like to take.
It's a good question. We've thought a lot of times whether we should invest and put money while designing a device. NFC should be a part of it or not. But the NFC depends on the ecosystem of the country, how we can make a use cases out of that. So currently, I would say, only the flagship devices have NFC enabled in India, which contribute to maybe less than 5% of the devices available in the country. As we see more and more use cases happening, this percentage will grow. So currently, the cost of NFC, if we put in the mass market device and it is not utilized by a consumer, it is not a good choice. So the focus of the industry is currently, putting more and more features which are directly utilized by the consumer.
Next, Kritika, please go to the next one.
So Mr. Narasimhan Venkatesan has a lot of questions. So I'll start with the ones he has addressed to HMD and Micromax. The first one is, what is indigenous value addition in HMD manufacture? Any plans to increase value addition, and your views on the phased value addition? Mr. Sanmeet?
Yes. So, it's difficult to put a number to it, but what I can say is that from all the components, there are certain components which are as of now indigenized in India. And Mr. June mentioned some of those, and those are some of those which we also procure from India. And then you know, 100% of the manufacturing, which is the EMS, that happens over here. So that's where we are. But as with the phase manufacturing system, there are more and more components which are now, you know, we are trying to see if we can get that source from India, and that's where, you know, we need more people to invest in that kind of a manufacturing, so that you know, we are able to get those components sourced in India. So that's where we are as of now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Narasimhan has a question for Mr. June. What are Micromax plans for increased indigenous value addition? What aid the high cost components in mobile one should focus? Should we focus on labor intensive production or high value automated production? And will components of 5G be very common or very different from 4G?
Yeah, so a lot of questions. Yeah.
In one.
In terms of value addition, there are two perspectives. One is obviously, you know, the software part of it, and one is hardware part of it. As Micromax, you know, does invest a lot in the software, and we will invest further a lot in the software side, as it is our strength. In terms of hardware, you know, currently whatever the resources available in the country, these are mostly for battery, chargers, cables. These are, you know, very well developed ecosystem, but does not contribute significantly in the overall BOM of the mobile phone. We look forward to have more contribution of display and camera. These are the two industries which are coming up pretty well. And, you know, once the ecosystem is available for our kind of devices, we will start procuring from India. But as I said, you know, all of these are further, you know, only assembled. So, you know, the kind of ecosystem required for these components is still imported from other countries. As a value addition, as a procurement, currently we do 25 to 30% of the BOM from India. And further, as the ecosystem is growing, we look forward to start procuring. And as Micromax, we are also planning to put up our own factories which can contribute in the component ecosystem. So as what the other question was, you know, 5G will have a lot of changes in the devices. You know, the further value add because of 5G is mostly going to be in the connectivity part, in terms of RF front end, in terms of design of antennas and everything. And we are gearing up ourselves towards designing of those kind of handsets, launching it well in time with the requirement of the industry, as well as, you know, either the software or hardware part of it.
Kritika, can I ask one question?
Yes, yes, sir, please.
Okay. Mr. June, I have one question. I think 2-3 days back, the Honorable Minister, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, has said that India is going to basically take a huge leap in terms of giving connectivity in the rural areas, and especially in the you know, northeastern sector of our country. I have a, you know, and I think the same thing has already been said by the Honorable Prime Minister also. So how do you see that such kind of connectivity once it comes, maybe 5G, then how the smartphones, you know, area of reach, especially in the villages and in the northeast sector?
Yes, so those are, you know, those are some of the areas where, you know, tele-density is still less, and connectivity is definitely prime importance. I'm not sure on the numbers, you know, what numbers of tele-density have in those areas, but I'll take an example of a project that we did last year in Chhattisgarh, wherein the tele-density was around 26%, and, you know, government supported, you know, this was a project with Jio, wherein Jio installed their towers in different regions where the tele-density was less, and Micromax distributed the handset, which from 25%, it increased the tele-density up to 60%. So those are good kind of scenarios. Does give a lot of, you know, to the community in the rural areas. They do take an advantage of that. We have seen, you know, people who've never seen the handset in their life or a mobile phone in their life, they are significantly using those devices for different purposes, for different value adds. So I'm not on top of numbers for the Northeast, but as you know, those are the kind of regions where you know, the operators also do not invest much money because the return on investment is less, and hence require a special support from the government.
Thank you. My one question for Mr. Sanmeet Kochhar. Kochhar Sahab, if you recall that in the year 96, 97, Nokia introduced the smartphone, and it used to weight at least, I should say, 2.5, 3 kg. If somebody throws on the head of somebody, then it can really, you know, work like anything. And I think over a period of time, the you know, technology has really taken a very big this thing. So those phone, I am, because I was that time given a phone by my company. I still have that phone with me. It's a huge phone, and which is at least 2.5 to 3 kg. Now the system is the more and more smartphones are coming very light. So do you see, as I think Sandeep ji, our chairman, has said in his speech, that the technology is going to take certain shape and the smartphone is going to be maybe the size of your hand. Do you see that such kind of technology will certainly come in future, Mr. Kochhar?
So, Dr. Yogesh, first of all, thank you so much for your question. So yes, I agree. So there's been a lot of development in technology in both hardware and in software. And we have seen that, you know, to the extent that hardware has almost become commoditized today. You know, there is so much of advancement that everybody seems to be doing, you know, those things. And we still see some hardware development happening. And I see definitely what's, you know, that there is going to be more changes and more development in terms of hardware. Although it's difficult to say what exactly would change in the next 5 to 10 years. But one thing that I definitely see is that software is also changing quite significantly. And there is significant more development happening in the software space as well today. You know, because when we talk of advancement and technological development, we look at only hardware. But even from a software point of view, with artificial intelligence and machine learning coming in, and this would grow disproportionately as we move along. And the phone would recognize more and more what we want to do and intuitively be able to do that. So that's where I see a lot of advancement happening, and it will be also, you know, very helpful. And there would be a lot of use cases around what that would lead to. So for example, today when I scroll up on my device, it already is suggesting to me that, for example, every day around 12 noon, if I am calling someone, one of my colleagues, it is suggesting that, you know, you need to call this person. Or if I'm using a particular application, the phone is already suggesting that, you know, why don't you do that? Or the phone comes to know that what are the applications which are, you know, my favorite applications, and saves the battery on other applications and uses only on this. So intuitively, there's a lot of work which is happening, you know, which is software, which is not directly to be seen, but at the same time, it is very helpful and helping us do better in terms of our connected life and connected work.
One question from me, sir. Kritika?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
So, you know, I remember way back when the phones just started to come in India, mobile phones started. Was it in 96,
97, yeah.
96. And, you know, so there was this one media guy who came to interview me and say, what do you see the future? You know, as you humans, we try to see things, they will come out much faster than they would. But I saw that time that the chips will be put in your hands and you would not need a phone, you know. The software will be loaded on that chip and that would be it. It will be powered by your body, the bioenergy, and your eyes will see and your mind will see the 3D picture and you will not require a screen.
Oh.
You know, what do you say? You know, I thought that time that it is going to happen very soon. Maybe the next 10 years, I was told. And I said that, yes, next 10 years, this is what should happen. It has not happened. It's now 25 years.
So, sir, the chip is going to be injected, sir?
In fact,
the chip is going to be injected in the human being?
Oh, you can.
No, may I submit here that there are smart goggles which have already come in.
Yeah,
Apple has already introduced. where these kind of features are available, sir, along with the
Acha.
smartphones.
Oh,
Smart watches of Apple, you have those smart goggles also available, where you have this feature where you can, do your internet. You can get the connectivity and you can see them on your glass.
wow.
So Google Glass has not really taken
Apple.
from the market. Yeah, it has not come up so well. I don't know why, because it is an excellent product. It can upload the data. If you are working on your machine, it can
Yep.
upload the data of the machine and keep on showing to your eyes that whatever product, if you are seeing pipe, it will show you what is the specification of those pipes, what are the problems, what could be the possible problems, all that stuff. And people have developed real good software on that. But
Very
still,
nice.
even in the enterprise section, in oil sector, a lot of people have done a huge work on this. But market has not yet really come up. So my question again stands. What is your view? And if these changes come up, how are we going to cope up? Because everything is going software defined. If we see the 5G, 3GPP standards, everything is gone software defined.
Absolutely.
There's no hardware.
So one of the challenges actually what Google faced, or what most of these companies, high-tech companies faced, was the latency, and hence the glasses and everything did not work well. But most of the investment, if you see from these countries these days, is augmented reality, and with the combination of artificial intelligence and augmented reality, this is what seems to be next 5 to 10 years is going to take a very, very huge shape. With 5G and with the the kind of, it's not only the speed, the latency is the key factor. With that kind of parameters, all these technologies will come up in a very, very big way. So Microsoft, Apple, Google, all these three companies, they are investing heavily in this particular segment. Yeah.
So, is there any development R&D at your end to be ready for such changes? When the hardware, maybe as I'm saying, mobile phone may not really exist physically.
Correct, sir.
So we need to think about that. We need not, there is a book called "Who Moved My Cheese?" So we should not again see the cheese being moved. We want the Indian manufacturing here to see and understand that everything is moving from hardware to software.
Correct.
So
And that is our forte. Actually, we should invest in that as well.
yes, exactly.
And it is a survival of the fittest. I mean, if you have your competence in any of the ecosystem, you can always you can sustain any kind of a trade dispute or a trade war. But unless you have some competence, you cannot sustain. So
what I believe is that if you do not allow the Indian manufactured goods, now how China or Japan or Germany or any other country in the world has survived, they have done two things. They have invested heavily into their R&D,
correct.
and the government through the defense, through their product innovation schemes, and the requirement of and the space research. Because of that, the government has put in trillions of dollars in investment. That is how this the center of what is that called? What is salt? What is it called? California, the manufacturing hub, and the software hub for the
Silicon Valley.
which one? Silicon Valley. So the Silicon Valley, how the Silicon Valley came into being is because government, their startups were given billions of dollars to invest into to develop products for space research, for military, and for the telecom. And that is how 1G, 2G, 3G, etc. developed. Now the Indian government has started investing into giving manufacturing. Now next should be investing into research. So yes, if the government puts in money for research, then I believe that Indian industry is going to grow in leaps and bounds. And I believe.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Kritika, maybe you can take last two questions, please.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir, Mr. Venkatesan has asked a question again. What are the policy initiatives still needed from from the government on Atmanirbhar on mobiles or electronic components? And what kind of an approach is preferable to hasten the issue?
Yeah.
Anyone?
So
Mr.
maybe
Kocha would like to answer, sir?
Yes, so I think there are already some initiatives which the government has taken, and these are really, really welcomed. I think this is for the first time that we are seeing such a huge investment in the telecom sector. And I think different manufacturers are already applying for these, and we are also in very, very close discussions with different manufacturers. I think more than the policy initiative, I think it will be the execution of these initiatives which is very important. That how soon these can be crystallized, and there is more clarity on how the money can be passed on to these manufacturers, so that the whole investment from their side can happen, and we move forward with speed in this direction.
I think one policy that is required from the government is based on how much is the contribution in the mobile phone or a smartphone from Indian ecosystem. I mean, if we have some mechanism, let's say if it is purely towards the BOM contribution, how much is the procurement from India, that will leverage a lot of deep down ecosystem. And subsequent to that is how much contribution in the engineering of that device. If there is a policy around that, that will give a lot of leverage to the industry.
great.
Sir,
So-
I'll take a last question.
Please.
So this one says, don't you think major shifts are needed for manufacturers to produce sensors based and clubbed with competition edge to meet heterogeneous market needs? That's the question.
Mr. June, you may like to.
Yeah, I think initially Sanjeev ji also and Sandeep ji also touched this point. Like in our country, they said directly to chip, but even manufacturing sensors is equally complicated. We require there are two parts, two kind of industries in these segments. One are with fab and one are fabless. So a lot of contribution that can happen is based on fabless initially. We can contribute a lot towards designing sensors, chips, and everything, and initially make it a fabless contribution, and then subsequently next phase implementing fabs and making companies which can produce in India. But designing aspect is equally important, and that's where we can contribute. A lot of MNCs currently contributing in that aspect, Freescale, ST, a lot of other companies, as I mentioned earlier, Qualcomm, they have huge investment, but that does not contribute in the manufacturing in India. It can happen, it is happening, but we require a lot of more initiative where we can say that it is an Indian company or Indian initiative which is doing the entire, initially maybe fabless and then with fab manufacturing.
Thank you, Mr. June, for your wonderful, answer to the question. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an end of this session. And before I request my Secretary General to give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks, ladies and gentlemen, we basically discussed today with the two industry stalwarts, about technology, about how India is going to have, smartphones in our country. And I think one thing which is very, very important, which I want to reiterate over here, that on the other day, we did discuss in one of our internal meetings with our senior vice president that this is the time to become, not to become Bill Gates, to become Steve Jobs, because so that we can have more creativity, more innovation, and we will be able to then learn this, that the money saved is money earned. That is the new normal at this point in time. So, sir, thank you very much that you basically showcase how the industry is taking shape. Now, I would like to request our Secretary General, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, to kindly give the concluding remarks and the formal vote of thanks. Over to Mr. Sanyal.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. At the outset, greetings to all the panelists and all the participants who have come for this webinar on the challenges and opportunities for the smartphone industry post COVID-19. Mr. Sanmeet Kochar, Vice President, HMD Global. Mr. Sunil June, Vice President and Chief Product Officer, Micromax Informatics Limited. Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, our Senior Vice President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Mr. Sandeep Agarwal, our Chairman of the Telecom Committee, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Dr. Yogesh Srivastava, Principal Director, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Ms. Krutika, and many colleagues and team members of PhD Chamber who have worked for the webinar today. Greetings to everybody. It is my privilege to propose the formal vote of thanks at this interactive webinar. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Shri Sanmeet Kochar ji, the Vice President HMD Global, and Mr. Sunil June, the Vice President and Chief Product Officer Micromax Informatics Limited, for sparing your valuable time and coming and sharing your overviews and your part of the talk today in this very important webinar. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Paramount Communications Limited, for their support for hosting this webinar today. I would like to thank all the delegates and participants and all the esteemed panelists whom I have not named but who are present here, because I can see very limited people on the screen who are present here and who have taken their time out of their busy schedule to attend this session. COVID-19 has already demonstrated how smartphones are a critical part of our lifestyles and our economy. Life seems to be incomplete today as we see it without a smartphone or an internet connectivity. In fact, just now in this conference, I was out of the connectivity and I was feeling very, very helpless and very, very charged up that why the internet. Then I had to create a hotspot immediately and get connected with you, because in my office here today, I face this challenge. So this is the amount of, importance of the internet which has come to stay here, and and the digital world, the digital systems which are required today, post-COVID and during COVID, whatever said and done, and in the future going forward. So it has empowered our lives, it has empowered our way of living, it has empowered our way of doing business. Smartphones have become an integral part today for working people, for students, and for tiny toddlers. In fact, today, all the online classes of class 1 to 5 are also being held through smartphones. And people are sharing their messages, they are sharing their classroom tutorials, everything through online. And smartphone is the key to living a good life and remaining totally connected with the world. India brands can benefit from the Make in India and Digital India initiatives from the government to take control of the manufacturing rather than depending on outside ODMs to design and manufacture their products. The aggressive approach by existing brands is expected to drive innovation and manufacturing localization in line with the Make in India campaign. Today, existing market forces are expected to benefit the Indian consumers in a very, very big way in future. Large number of companies have come up, and due to the stopping of imports from China, the Indian indigenous manufacturers are going way ahead, improvising and designing things which are going to be very effectively utilized in the smartphone industry today in India with the existing smartphones. I convey my sincere thanks to our entire team and to all the panelists here, especially the chairman who has taken up this very important conference here today for all the panelists and for all the panelists to know about the future of the smartphone and how people can get motivated and come into this sector for developing more and more smartphones. Today we have more than 1 billion active.
These are the challenges, sir, once we are into a virtual situation.
And a way for reaching out to the rural areas where people can easily They've already started using it, but it will become a way of doing business and a way of interacting, sitting at your place, interacting with the world. With these words, I once again thank Dr. Yogesh Srivastava, our entire team, and his entire team for putting up this webinar, our president and all the panelists for speaking so well, sparing their time and telling us about the future of this technology. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanyal. Thank you very much for your inspiring words. And we will still request you through our chairman, Sandeep ji, to have 5G connectivity in PhD House at August Kranti Mark, because that is now the need of the hour. And with this note, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end. We are very thankful to our esteemed both the speakers. Yeah, please, Sandeep ji.
Let me say one thing,
Yeah.
The point is, when the technology goes from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, the distance the tower or a modem can actually work through becomes smaller and smaller, and 5G and 6G modems cannot actually
Yes, sir.
peer through the
I just call you back, sir. I am in two
walls
webinars.
and even the glasses. So basically, what we require is rewiring the whole building
Rewiring.
to ensure that every single room has a modem which is connected to a tower on the top of the building, which is connected to the main towers for us, but then, half the people are working from home. So even every room in the house needs to be done. Yesterday, PM said that all the 6 lakh villages, at least 5 connections, 30 lakh connections will be given fiber to home in the next 1,000 days.
Fantastic. Very good.
So it is going to change the way India works, especially in the rural sector. So I don't know how it is going to affect the urban sector, because giving connection in cities is $1 billion question. So let's hope for the best and be hopeful for the future. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. We still know that the Paramount cables you had, and you have put cables under the sea, and we will still request you to put the wiring of Paramount, at PhD House, so that we will have better connectivity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We really wish you a very healthy life ahead. And I would like to, thank two more persons, those who have put behind the, curtain, that is Paramjeet and Mr. Ranjit Nayyar. Who have put and ensured that the connectivity is good. They are my IT champions, along with my friend Sanjeev Kumar and of course Kurtika. So thank you, Mr. June. Thank you, Mr. Kochhar, once again. And we would be very happy to have you in the telecom committee on board. And ladies and gentlemen, I would request each and everybody, those who have joined today, please become part and parcel of our telecom committee, PhD CCI. And Kurtika, you may like to send the membership form to all our people, those who are not the members of the telecom committee. Thank you very much and have a great day. Namaskar.
Thank you.